Welcome to Study Time, a televised home learning program produced by Rwanda Education Board.
Hello students, welcome to TV learning programs. I'm teacher Aggrey, teacher of economics. Today I'm going to learn with Senior 5. And the subject is economics. We are still on Unit 4, which is consumption, saving, investment, and multipliers. And our lesson today, learners, we are going to look at multipliers. And I expect you, at the end of the lesson, learners, you should be able to calculate the multiplier magnitude. And I want us to work out these following questions. We have questions, and we are going to calculate these questions. We are going to work out these following questions. The first question, given that MPS is 0.2, find the MPC and determine the magnitude of the multiplier. Let me repeat the question. Given that MPS is 0.2, find the MPC and determine the magnitude of the multiplier. That is question 1. The question, they need us to find the MPC and calculate the multiplier magnitude. And MPS, what is MPS? You remember, learners, what we learned in the previous lesson about MPS. And we said that MPS, that is the fraction of the additional income that is saved. That is MPS. Now, MPS stands for marginal propensity to save. 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 That is MPS. And MPC stands for marginal propensity to consume. MPC stands for marginal propensity. Marginal propensity to consume. Marginal propensity to consume. Marginal propensity to consume. That is MPC. Now, given that marginal propensity to consume is 0.2, find the marginal propensity to consume and determine the magnitude of the multiplier. And how do we get marginal propensity to consume given marginal propensity to save? We are given marginal propensity to save. Our MPS in the question, we are given marginal propensity to save as 0.2. Marginal propensity to save is 0.2. We are not given marginal propensity to consume. And we are supposed to look for marginal propensity to consume. After looking for the marginal propensity to consume, we shall calculate the multiplier. The marginal propensity to consume is not given. It is what we are looking for. It is a question mark. It is what we are looking for, marginal propensity to consume. Remember, learners, what we learned in the previous lesson. We learned about the relationship between marginal propensity to save and marginal propensity to consume. And what is that relationship? We said given marginal propensity to consume, given marginal propensity to consume plus marginal propensity to save is equal to 1. We are looking for marginal propensity to consume. And the relationship is, if you get marginal propensity to consume plus marginal propensity to save, you will get 1. And 1 presents income. This one presents income. And it will be marginal propensity to consume plus, we are given marginal propensity to save. Where we have marginal propensity to save, it is 0.2. Our marginal propensity to save is 0.2, which is equal to 1. Now, it will be marginal propensity to save, marginal propensity to consume, because we want to remain with marginal propensity to consume. That is what we are looking for. We want to remain with marginal propensity to consume. We are looking for marginal propensity to consume. Now, it will be 1 minus, because we are looking for marginal propensity to consume, we shall bring 0.2 the other side, on the right side. And it is a positive. When it crosses, it will be a negative. The sign will change. It will be a negative. Now, if you get 1 minus 0.2, our marginal propensity to consume. Learners, join me to calculate this. Hope you have your calculators. If we get 1 minus 0.2, it will give us 0.8. Now, our marginal propensity to consume is 0.8. Is 0.8. That is our marginal propensity to consume. That is how we get marginal propensity to consume if we are given marginal propensity to save. The second, we are still calculating, we are still on the first question. Because the first question, they want us to find marginal propensity to consume and calculate the multiplier magnitude. And how do we get the multiplier magnitude, the size of the multiplier? Now, to get the multiplier, in our question, we are given marginal propensity to save. And if we are given marginal propensity to save, we shall use the formula of multiplier is equal to 1 divided by marginal propensity to save. Now, our multiplier is equal to 1. Marginal propensity to save, we are given marginal propensity to save in the equation, which is 0.2. The marginal propensity to save is 0.2. We shall get 1 divided by 0.2. 1 divided by 0.2, 1 divided by 0.2, it will give us 5. Now, the multiplier is 5 times. The multiplier is 5 times. The multiplier will be 5 times. That is how we calculate multiplier, given the marginal propensity to save. And even if you use marginal propensity to consume, you will get the same answer. You will get also 5 times if you use the formula of marginal propensity to consume. Now, on the second question, given that marginal propensity to consume is 0.75, calculate the size of the multiplier. Let me repeat the question. Given that the marginal propensity to save, the marginal propensity to consume is 0.7, calculate the size of the multiplier. Now, in the question, on question 2, we are given marginal propensity to consume. And they want us to calculate the size of the multiplier, given marginal propensity to consume. You remember very well, learners, in the previous lesson, we learned about the formulas on how to calculate multipliers, a multiplier given marginal propensity to consume and given marginal propensity to save. Now, in the question, we have marginal propensity to consume. Now, we shall use this formula to get multiplier on question 2. To get the multiplier on question 2, this is question 1. Question 1. On question 2, to get the multiplier, we are given marginal propensity to save. To get multiplier, given marginal propensity to consume, given marginal propensity to consume, it is 1 divided by 1 minus marginal propensity to consume. Our multiplier is equal to 1 divided by 1 minus. Our marginal propensity to consume is 0.75. Our marginal propensity to consume is 0.75. Learners, join me to calculate this. If you get 1 minus 0.75, 1 minus 0.75, it is 0.25. It will give us 0.25. Our multiplier, if you get 1, it is 1 now divided by 0.25. 1 divided by 0.25, 1 divided by 0.25, it will give us 4. The multiplier will be 4 times. Now, our multiplier given marginal propensity to consume, the multiplier is 4 times. That is how we calculate multiplier given the marginal propensity to consume. That is the second question. The third question, given that as a result of increase in investment expenditure, from 20 million francs to 60 million francs, and this led to an increase in national income from 300 million francs to 7,000, from 3,000 million francs to 7,000 million francs. What is the investment multiplier? And how do we get the investment multiplier? Learners, hope you still remember the formula of calculating the investment multiplier. Now, to get the investment multiplier, on question 3, to get the investment multiplier, the formula is we get the change in income, we get the change in income divided by a change in expenditure. Divided by a change in expenditure. We divide by a change in expenditure. Divided by a change in expenditure to get the investment multiplier. It is change in income divided by change in expenditure. And on question 3, we have 2 expenditures and 2 incomes. Now, in order to interpret the question so that it becomes easy for you to calculate, now, data here, we want to interpret the data, the information. Given that a result of increase in investment, expenditure from 20 million. Now, expenditure 1 is 20 million. We have 2 expenditures. Now, expenditure 1 is 20 million. Increased the expenditure from 20 million francs to 60 million francs. Expenditure 2 is 60 million. You can see it. Expenditure 2 is 60 million. That is our expenditure 2. Then, led to an increase in national income from 3,000 million francs to 7,000 million francs. Now, our income 1 is 3,000 million. Our income 1 is 3,000 million. And our income 2, because it increased from 3,000 million to 7,000 million. That is our income 2. You can see that. To 7,000 million. To 7,000 million. And how do we get a change in income, learners? How do we get a change in income? To get the change in income, our investment multiplier is equal to get the change in income, we shall get income 2 minus income 1. The new income minus the old income. Now, if we get the income 2 is 7,000 million, 7,000 million minus the old income, income 1, which is 3,000 million. 3,000 million divided by a change in expenditure. To get a change in expenditure, we shall get expenditure 2 minus expenditure 1. The new expenditure minus the old expenditure. And expenditure 2 is 60 million. Expenditure 1 is 20 million. Now we shall get 60 million minus 20 million. Our investment multiplier is equal to, if you get 7,000 million minus 3,000 million, it will give you 4,000 million. You will get 4,000 million. 4,000 million. Divided by 60 million minus 20 million, you will get 40 million. You will get 40 million. 40 million. Our investment multiplier will be is equal to, we have 2 zeros here, this is a 0, cancel this 0, it is 400 divided by 4. If you get 4 divided by 4, it's 1. We add the 2 zeros, it becomes 100. Now, our investment multiplier is 100 times. Is 100 times. That is how we get the investment multiplier. Now, our investment multiplier is 100 times. And how do we interpret this? If they ask you to interpret, now, the interpretation is the change in investment expenditure, which is 40, multiplied itself 100 times to give a final change in income of 4,000 million. The change in investment expenditure multiplied itself 100 times to give a final change in income, which is 4,000 million. Because if you get 40 times 100, it will give you 4,000 million. That is the interpretation. The change in investment expenditure multiplied itself 100 times to give a final change in income of 4,000 million. That is how we calculate investment multiplier on question 3. Then on the fourth question, given that the investment expenditure increased from 3 million francs, given that the investment expenditure increased from 3 million francs to 8 million francs, and this led to an increase in income from 200 million francs to 400 million francs. Calculate the investment multiplier. Let me repeat the question. Given that the investment expenditure increased from 3 million francs to 8 million francs, and this led to an increase in income from 200 million francs to 400 million francs, calculate the investment multiplier. How do we calculate the investment multiplier? How do we get the investment multiplier? On question 4, to get the investment multiplier, we get the change in income. It is change in income divided by change in expenditure. We divide by change in expenditure. Divide by change in expenditure. We interpret the question. Let's interpret the question. Data here to interpret the information so that it becomes easier for you to calculate. Given that the investment expenditure increased from 3 million francs, expenditure 1 is 3 million. Our expenditure 1, the expenditure 1 is 3 million, increased from 3 million francs to 8 million francs. Expenditure 2 is 8 billion. Expenditure 2 is 8 million. And this led to an increase in income from 200 million francs to 400 million francs. Our income 1 is 400 million. Income 1 is 400 million. And income 2, our income 1, it led to an increase from 200 million to 400 million. Our income 1 is 200 million. That is the original income. 200 million. And income 2 is 400 million because it increased from 200 million to 400 million. Our income 2 is 400 million. After interpreting the data, it is easier for you now to calculate because you will substitute the figures into the formula. Now, to get the investment multiplier, it is change in income. And to get the change in income, we shall get income 2, the new income, minus the old income. And income 2 is 400 million, and income 1 is 200 million. Now, we shall get 400 million minus 200 million, which is income 1. To get the change in expenditure, we shall get expenditure 2 minus expenditure 1. And expenditure 2, you can see it is 8 million, and expenditure 1 is 3 million. Now, if you get 8 million minus 3 million, our investment multiplier is equal to 400 million minus 200 million, you will remain with 200 million. If you get 400 million minus 200 million, it will give you 200 million. 8 million minus 3 million, we shall get 5 million. 8 million minus 3 million, you will remain with 5 million. You will get 5 million. And 200 million divided by 5 million, you can join me to calculate these, learners. If you get 200 million divided by 5 million, you will get 40. 40. Now, our multiplier, the investment multiplier is equal to 40 times. Is equal to 40 times. That is how we calculate the investment multiplier. Now, our investment multiplier is 40 times. Our investment multiplier is 40 times. Now, we have an exercise. There is an exercise here. And I will work out the first question. The rest of the questions, you will do them as your homework. I'll just do one question. Now, the first question, I'll just solve one question. Given that the government expenditure in an economy, is increased by 100 million, where the MPC, marginal propensity to consume, is 0.8. Find the final change in national income. Find the final change in national income. Now, to get the final change in income, on exercise, I'm solving one question. I'll just do the one question, which is the first question. To get the final change in income, to get the final change in income, we get the multiplier. It is multiplier, which is M times. It is multiplier, which is M times change in expenditure, times the change in expenditure, times change, we multiply by the change in expenditure. And on question 1, we are not given the multiplier. And remember the formula, it is multiplier times change in expenditure. We have to first look for the multiplier. Because we are not given the multiplier. And in the question, we have marginal propensity to consume. Now, given marginal propensity to consume, how do we calculate the multiplier? Given marginal propensity to consume, our marginal propensity to consume is 0.8. Now, given marginal propensity to consume, how do we calculate the multiplier? Now, to get the multiplier is equal to 1 divided by 1 minus marginal propensity to consume. Our multiplier is equal to 1 divided by 1 minus 0.8. Where there is marginal propensity to consume, we shall substitute 0.8. It is 0.8. 1 minus 0.8. Now, our multiplier is equal to, if you get 1 minus 0.8, join me to calculate these, learners. If you get 1 minus 0.8, it will give you 0.2. 1, it will give you 0.2. 1 divided by 0.2, if you get 1 divided by 0.2, it will give you 5. Now, our multiplier is equal to 5 times. And we are calculating for the final change. We are calculating for the final change in income. And how do we get the final change in income? Remember, we have said that to get the final change in income, we get the multiplier times the change in expenditure. Now, our final change in income, to get the final change in income is equal to, our multiplier is 5 times. We shall get 5 times read on the question, the expenditure is, given that the government expenditure in an economy increased by 100 million, government expenditure, that is the government expenditure. Now, the expenditure is 100 million. As you can see on question 1, it is 100 million. Now, we shall get 5 times 100 million. 5 times 100 million. We shall get 5 times 100 million. It will give you 500 million. Now, our final change in income is equal to 500 million francs. Is equal to 500 million francs. That is how we get the final change in income, which is 500 million francs. Which is 500 million francs. Now, learners, I hope you can be able to calculate the multiplier, and you can be able to get the final change in income. I want you to do the rest of the questions. There is question 2. On question 2, given that MPS is 0.2, find the MPC and determine the magnitude of the multiplier. The third question, given MPC is 70%, find marginal propensity to save. The fourth question, calculate the magnitude of the multiplier where MPC is 40%. And the last question, given that the multiplier in an economy is 2, and the final level of income is 100 million, find the marginal propensity to consume and the change in expenditure. I want you to do the rest of the question as the homework. Thank you, learners, for watching, and thank you for being attentive. We meet next time. Thank you.